Welcome back. So still a bunch of things to do on the engine before we can get it running again. So next thing is to make these holes in those pipes there in order to have this bypass there for the wastegate. So I marked them out on the outside and then kind of just did a little offset on the inside in black, and so now I have to go and cut them out. So I'll be using the little Dremel saw just to do that, a little miniature one, which makes it the easiest way, at least that I know of, to cut those holes out nicely. Anyway, so that needs to happen. And if you remember last time, we got underway with making the plugs for the upper and lower skins of the ailerons, the left and right. So this is the first one now, lower one going into putty, and the other ones, one of them's already been in putty and the other ones are still in foam and getting glassed. So here's a little bit of slow motion action for you so you can see kind of how that mill works. So anybody who's interested, that our end mills have like 4 flutes on them, and so they cut really nicely with the, usually, you know, mostly you're just cutting with the side of the mill. So here you can kind of see how it does it, and when it's sharp you get nice clean sort of shavings coming off like that. If they get dull, you just end up with a lot more dust, and you can tell right away if the end mill's getting dull. It's amazing actually how long they last with cutting this the putty before they need sharpening. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little close-up look there. So a little bit of hacking later, I had these roughly cut out and just needed to clean them up a little bit, and we use that little burring tool to do that, and this is what it looks like. And then of course, you know, just clean off the steel there so it can be welded. And these are 321 stainless steel, so Britt likes everything to be nice and clean so he can weld it nicely. Okay, so there's the next one that got done in putty, and then this was one of the 4-plane ones. So that one, that mold got the bracing put on that, and this was on Thursday. And here's the first of the upper aileron plugs. So that's the foam done there, and that's waiting to get glassed. And those came out nicely. It didn't take much effort to run that. And there's the other one, again ready to be glassed. So actually did really well this week. Got 4 of those plugs, started from nothing, and ended up with basically all of them done, as you'll see, or nearly all done. So there's the first one milled. That's the first of the lower skins for the aileron, so that one's all complete now, and time to put the next one up. So Jeff's been prepping those aluminum discs that I milled a little while back with allodyne to protect them so they don't corrode, and now he's in the process of riveting those pulleys together. These are the pulleys that sort of live on the outboard edge of the main spar for the aileron controls, and you'll see there shortly where they ended up getting installed. He's just putting them together. And here's the second one of those lower aileron skin plugs, just getting underway now. So putty sprayed on there. So actually the putty got sprayed on there, I think it was on Wednesday. So it's just kind of, the week just becomes a blur when you're just sort of doing all the different things all throughout the day. One day runs into the next. Anyway, so that one is underway now, and don't take too long because it's all just sort of flat surfaces, pretty easy to do. And here the guys are glassing this second one of the upper ones, and I see Jeff and Devin there just put down the dry fiberglass, get it nice and smoothed out, and then sort of pat it down there, and then it's time to wet it down with some resin. So that one's looking good there, and there's the other one over here has already been done, and it's got some peel ply on there, and that peel ply comes off before we spray the putty. And again, as I said before, so you don't have to worry about roughing up the surface. The peel ply does that for you. And the guys also got on this one. So this was that lower cowling extension that they've been working on for a little while. So time to pull the mold from that one. So they got underway with this one on Thursday. And Britt managed to make some time for us on Thursday, so I dropped off the turbo and a couple of other different things. And he was just basically tacking things into place while I'm there, just to make sure everything's sorted out, and then he can weld it all up after I'm gone. So that's the turbo, obviously, with the wastegate, the new wastegate routing there. And yeah, my fitment wasn't that great on there, but he managed to make it all work. And so that one is getting close to being done there. And meanwhile, there's the first two off the machine now. So these are the lower skins again for the aileron plugs. And so those first two are done. And it's time to switch over to the upper one. So this is the first of the upper ones. And so this was Thursday night. So things are moving along fairly well in terms of what we managed to get done this week. Really busy. So there the guys got that one in the lightweight layers on that one for that mold on by the end of Thursday night. And Jeff has managed to get this pulley, or both of these pulleys, all together now and mounted in their little bracket that he made a while back. And they have sort of a bearing in there, so it's super nice action on that thing. There's no binding or anything, it's just really smooth. So that one's ready to be installed pretty much. Okay, so there's the first one of the upper aileron plugs back on the machine now with the putty, and the flat surfaces have already been run. And so this is switching over to the ball mill now to do that sort of curved front edge. And when I was at Brett's on Thursday evening, he welded in this bung in the sump pan there for the oil return for the governor, and so I managed to get the sump pan all mounted back in there, bolted back into the engine, and that obviously has a new windage tray and everything back in there, so that's good. And here a couple of these sensors that we have there, one for air pressure in the second turbo and the other one for oil pressure. I've mounted them with some 8L clamps at the front there, so they're not subject to vibration of the engine, and just running lines. So there's one oil line there running to the first one, and then this other oil line runs over to the governor controller there. And from this other angle you can see this is where it arrives on the other side there into the controller. And then the other pressure sensor mounted there with the 8L clamp, that one is for the turbo pressure in the, on the second side after the turbo, actually after the intercooler. And it just mounts up to this manifold, and so all the different things that are sucking air off of that are coming off of that manifold. And here you can see Jeff's just gone and clecoed the first of these pulleys into place there, and this is on the end of the spar on the left hand side, as you can see there. And so that's just fitting nicely, and that'll ultimately just be bonded on there. And there's the one for the right hand side. So those are looking good, and we've ordered the cable and stuff for that, so getting close to being able to actually run the cables and for this, because all the pulleys except for just two others are installed now. And here we are with the second one of the upper aileron plug. So this one underway Friday evening, and we'll be running over the weekend to get it finished. And there's the first of the upper ones off the machine at the end of Friday, so that one's ready for the guys to give it the treatment, some sanding and priming. And actually, if you can see here, this is the first of the lower ones here. Came off the machine well enough that Jeff pretty much just did a little bit of work on the leading edge there, and then just primed it right away, and then it has a guide coat. And same with this one, so I've actually sort of skipped a step of the guys giving it the initial sanding, and we'll see how that works out. Anyway, so this is the that other mold now got released, the one that had the braces put on it earlier, and Zach got on there and trimmed around the edges and did a nice job on that. And meanwhile, Jeff has closed out those different bulkhead parts that he'd put in there, you know, one for the air conditioning lines, and the other one for where the hydraulics go through for the brakes, and then the upper one where all the other different pass-throughs are. And lastly, got the turbo back from Brett on Friday afternoon, and quickly got things sort of installed and starting to get the last few different lines hooked up here for the wastegate controllers and the solenoids that I have, and all the other stuff that you've seen there over the last couple of days from the governor and all that sort of stuff coming together. So not too far away now before I can put fluids back in it and be getting ready to start it again. And there's one of the solenoids there that controls the wastegate controller for Turbo 1. So anyway, coming along, and then hopefully by sometime next week, and obviously short week coming next week, but hopefully by the end of the week I might be able to actually start it up again. So that's exciting. Anyway, that's our update for this week, and thanks again for watching.